All right, let's just go crack on because you haven't got that long.
We're okay. We're okay.
Sure?
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. The Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and just like that, darling, did you get me a coffee or not? Yeah. Remember how I said when Abigoliah said, you said, "What would you like to drink?" And I said, "I'd like a coffee." No, I didn't hear that. Yeah. You edited out the sound of the voice of your own wife because there was another woman in the room. There was a woman in a hot dress in the room, and you couldn't even hear me. It's awful. The Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and just like that, the Sex and the City Reheal with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Abigoliah Schamaun. Season 3, Episode 12, The End of the Road, the final, they say. I bet it's rebooted on Netflix or something. Party of One. So, Abigoliah, before I do this week's recap, because there are people that listen to this podcast that don't watch the show, what word or phrase sums up this final episode in the Sex and the City universe, if that's to be believed?
I've been off social media for 3 months, so I haven't watched anyone talk about this. I haven't listened to any of the episodes where everyone talks about this. I went in completely fresh.
Wow.
And I was like, why did I say I would do this on episode 12? I have to watch 12 freaking.
Oh, you've done the Grace Petrie thing where you've had to binge them. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for your loss.
And you know what?
Oh God.
I'm fine with it.
What?
Abigoliah. I genuinely, now, is it good? No. Are we closer to what we liked about Sex and the City? Yes. Like, they're not trying to clean up a messy thing. Like, the whole season, it's not like, let's clean up this whole Noth thing. Let's get Miranda out of the closet. It's
we're millimeters closer, but it feels like.
I think it's, I thought I watched it and I was like, maybe I'm just tired, but I'm fine.
Wow.
I'm not like, this is the greatest thing ever, but I was like, okay, we're getting back to.
But this final episode, which is meant to be the final episode from these characters that we'll ever see, and we didn't even see Carrie, Charlotte, Miranda. This is the final one.
Wait, I thought there was an episode after this.
No.
Because,
that was the finale. That was the season finale.
That was the finale?
That's right, my friend. That was end of the SATC universe.
Okay, then now I'm angry. Fuck this. I misunderstood. I thought there was one other episode coming. So I literally wrote down predictions for like what's going to happen in episode 13 because I was like, we're getting close.
Okay, I know why you thought that. At points on the internet, it said there was 12 episodes, 13 episodes. Mm-hmm. Tom thought there were 13 episodes. Mm-hmm. So he programmed in 13 co-hosts for me. Mm-hmm. And Katie Mulgrew next week is going to do a sort of roundup. I mean, she's a massive aficionado of this show. Okay. So she's going to do a general roundup of the whole And Just Like That phenomenon, I say with air quotes, heavy air quotes. So that's why he told you probably you were doing the penultimate episode. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry to tell you in retrospect, that was the last you're ever going to see of Carrie Bradshaw.
I take back everything I said. This show is awful, and they totally miss the mark.
No, listen. Your genuine response that it's better than it was is absolutely valid. I mean, I think we forget how bad it was. I think the first 2 seasons were so wedged in with all of this stuff, and they were trying to introduce all these millions of new characters, and, you know, we had Shady Az and all that stuff. Yeah, so this season is closer in the world of Sex and the City. Mm-hmm. However, they seem to have forgotten entirely what a story is. So it's just a series of anecdotal vignettes.
Now that I know that this is the last episode, here's the thing. The only time the 4, which I guess, no.
They were never together.
Yeah. Well, the fashion show, when
Miranda was not there.
Oh, Miranda wasn't there.
Miranda wasn't there.
Because I was going to say they're not even like looking at each other.
No, they're not. Miranda wasn't there. And Miranda wasn't there when they were walking down the street either. There were a couple of joint scenes, but Miranda was not there.
Because she's gay, so she doesn't count anymore.
Listen, Miranda and Carrie talked, I think. But I think they should have given the 3, Miranda and Charlotte and Carrie, like a final scene.
Yeah.
Where they were walking down Fifth Avenue or something together or having brunch together. At least that, or at least, you know, yes, she's on her own or whatever the fuck, but she's got her girls. You know, that's what it always was.
Yeah.
You know, when she came back from Paris and she'd come and she'd knock on the window where they were having brunch, or she'd come back from seeing big or, this was her. She'd break up and she'd come back to them. And you'd see her alone typing in a window, but that it felt like a love letter to female friendship. And now it's like, but the girls will also let you down by going off and getting married or finding boyfriends.
Yeah, okay, now I am furious because like what we loved about Sex and the City OG is the morning brunches, is the diner. And if this is the last episode of the last season Just Like That, they should have brought last time we did this, I did the last episode, I think, and they are just screwing up these endings. If they have the three of them in a diner having a chat of just like
really revealing what's in their hearts about being alone or being, what is it to be Charlotte, for example, is she's the ever romantic one. She's still setting Carrie up, etc., etc., etc. But I think the theme for her this season has been the loneliness of being the kind of driver in the household, the one that looks after Harry, the caretaker for the kids, that no one really asks her how she is, and she's looking after a dog and a sick husband, and she gets sick and no one looks after her. The kids don't do what they've promised, and Harry's never going to be running around for her hand and foot the way that she does for him, and also holding down a job and looking after the Gen Zs at work and all of that sort of stuff. So the loneliness of being a caretaker in a busy world. Miranda always kind of wants to be alone, almost like she, she never wanted marriage. She never wanted a kid. And then she ended up living with her mother-in-law and having a virtual live-in nanny, and she lived in a crowd, and she'd sort of got back to being on her own. And guess what's happened to her again? Yeah. She's going to be a grandma, which leads me to say that some of our listeners haven't watched and some have double screened. So I'm going to go for a rundown of what happened in this. This is the final ever episode of the Sex and the City universe. Okay. All right. In this week's episode, Party of One, Carrie goes to a robot cafe and is given a plushy boyfriend. Lisa finally shows us some of her incredibly basic documentary that's taken 7 years. We find out that we are never going to see Michelle Obama, but she might narrate the doc, but probably not. Lisa tells Marion their professional platonic relationship has to be professional and platonic, and he doesn't say, it is professional and platonic. What are you talking about? I'm married. You've imagined all this. Like every man in the history of the world has ever done to a woman who has picked up on a vibe when a man has gone down on a papaya. Steve and Miranda are nice to each other. Samantha discovers that Amanda Karma Gardens the gardener doesn't want to get married because he tells her while urinating naked in front of her. Lisa and Charlotte talk about how marriage is all about their husband's needs and whims, but that they would still get married to those same men again, knowing that. We are not sure why. Carrie tells Adam Karma Gardens the gardener that she loves the garden he's been working on for a whole season, but she wants him to put it back to something wild and free and rat-attracting, like it was in episode 1. And he couldn't help but wonder, why did I bother? But why should we be the only ones, frankly? Harry is recovered from last week's plotline, cancer played for comedy, and so can get a comedy erection and must immediately have comedy sex. Carrie delivers pies to everyone like a Thanksgiving Santa Claus in a red, shiny, tutu nightmare dress. Miranda and Brady host Thanksgiving for people in their 20s who Michael Patrick King believes are unequivocally monsters. Mark, the gallery owner, true to my prediction last week, is set up with Carrie, but she doesn't like him, so nothing happens. Brady has to go out and get seaweed and brown rice for his baby Mamma Mia because she didn't explain her bizarre and implausible dietary requirements and was vile about it. By the time he comes back, she's scoffing cheese. He's mad, she's awful. Some young people we've never met and will never meet again, called Silvio and Epcot, are slappably rude. A dog is sick, but not really. Epcot clogs the loo and it overflows, and we are forced to look at it all. Carrie is afraid Mark will ask her out and she'll have to refuse him or go along with it, but he doesn't. Joy kneels in crap on the floor with Miranda. They cry. Giuseppe puts a cream pie in Anthony's face. We don't know if they'll get married. Carrie goes home to her mansion in a ball gown and puts the iconic Ally McBeal classic, "You're the first, you're the last, my everything," and dances around, and then finishes her novel with the immortal line, "The woman realizes she was not alone. She was on her own." These things mean the same thing. Look it up in the dictionary. Are you kidding me with this literal and metaphorical shit? And that was the final ever episode of the Sex and the City universe.
Yeah, I'm mad. First of all, I forgot who Victor Garber was. Like, Mark, I was like, why is he at Thanksgiving? Who is he? I had to look it up. I thought this was the penultimate episode. I thought Michelle Obama was going to have a cameo in the last episode. They've talked about her for so much that I was like, there's no way she doesn't come in and go, hi, I can't wait to narrate the film. I really thought that was going to happen.
We were promised it. They kept going on about Michelle Obama. I was like, obviously they've got her for a cameo. She said, oh my God, I was such a big fan in the 90s. Of course I'll come be part of this universe. It's a terrible show now, but it's just one of those iconic things. I've got time now. I'm not the first lady anymore. So I thought that's what we were promised. Otherwise, why were they going on about her?
Yeah.
She was totally inappropriate for the documentary, which Lisa said.
Yeah.
There's no other reason to talk about her every week. She has had more airtime than some of our main characters or their biggest lovers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're never going to see her. And also, it's not like, what they could have got her to do is like a little video, like a...
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to get somebody, at that level to do, if you're at the level of Sex and the City, to do a little video, like a Marco Polo or a FaceTime thing, which she says, hey, I can't be in it because I'm not, a suitable subject, but I'd be really interested in narrating it. Do you have a narrator? And then they're like screaming and that could have been a 2-second video. The way they did with Samantha.
Yeah.
But even less, like on a little video. It's not even a voice note.
I can't believe they didn't. I can't believe.
I mean, they cannot, but then don't build it up.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get
it once and then throw it away. Yeah, because they kept bringing it up. She was Chekhov's gun this entire season. Like, it was just like, we are going to see Michelle Obama in Just Like That. I thought Duncan would show up at the end. I thought he would come back and do a little knock at the door and be like, hello. I thought, I just have some... I have some pages.
Yes, exactly. I have some pages. I would wondered if you might look at them.
I thought Steve and Brady would have a really heartfelt conversation of why Steve flipped out, that Brady was like, she doesn't want to be with me. I'm fine with it. And then Brady would man up.
Is this your prediction for next week, by the way?
Yes, this is my prediction for next week. This is how it should have.
This is what you came to say you think is going to happen next week.
This is what I thought was going to happen next week.
You look like you're almost in tears now.
I can't, because I was like,
I've broken this to you so ruthlessly.
I'm just angry. And then Charlotte and Harry continue to be Charlotte and Harry. There's nothing there. I thought that Adam and Zima would break up simply because she needs to be single for the next adventure. Like, there's nothing really wrong in that relationship, but I was just like, no, they'll have to break up.
They're not quite right.
Yeah.
Adam and Samantha, I've started calling her. They're cute together. The truthful reality of that is they're not right together. But look, sometimes people have great sex and they're both independent people who've got their own livings, they've got their own apartments, they enjoy spending time together, they make each other laugh. They laugh at people putting deodorant on in restaurants. I get it. But suddenly this week, Samantha wants to get married.
Yeah. Which never, she wanted a partner, but it never seems like she wanted to be married. And it also seems like their values are different. I think because he's a gardener, we're supposed to imagine that he's a lot poorer than them.
Working class, yeah.
But
that's the implication.
He's the gardener to the stars.
Yeah, he's a landscape gardener who's obviously been to some fancy horticulture school.
Yeah.
And those people can be A, loaded, and B, he had a really liberal arts childhood education, living in some gorgeous place in the village that was rent controlled, but his mother was in this artsy world. Like, he is not a working class dirt on his hands man. He's an artist. You're kind of going, come on now. But it's what Michael Patrick King thinks of as a bit of rough, I think.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's just too rich to know what normal people are like. Because like you said, the people who show up with Brady's Mamma Mia, it's like, who are these people? And then why introduce 2 new characters in the last episode ever? One to Vogue, the other to shit themselves. And then And then there's also nothing resolved about, is Brady going to take responsibility? No. Does Mama Mia actually just want to do it all her own? But they also make her look like she couldn't possibly be a good mother.
Oh.
She had a dog, but she didn't have a dog because she left the door open and it ran away. Everything about her character is set up to be like, she is not ready to be a mother.
And will never be.
Yeah.
She's just an objectionable human being. There are plenty of very young people who haven't got their shit together, all puns intended, but you could see, well, when the baby comes, they're going to get it together.
Yeah.
If there could have been a beautiful scene where, and a lot of people were predicting it, where she said to Miranda, I'm actually scared, and my mom's blocked me on Facebook and I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to keep working? What am I going to do? I don't have maternity leave. I'm a part-time shampoo person. I'm not on a contract. What am I going to do? And Miranda says, move in here and we'll do it together. And I actually, because I think it would have really mirrored what happened to Miranda. Mm-hmm. I was saying before that she ends up with a house full. Well, that's what I thought they were doing. And actually, it could have been, if she hadn't been such a ghastly character, if she'd just been a young woman who was a bit feckless and a bit reckless and had got knocked up and was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I would love to have seen her and Steve back in a big old, renovating a big old rambly Brooklyn house again. Brady and Mamma Mia aren't together, but we're all going to co-parent this kid. With four of us, you've got two 20-year-olds who should be in education or figuring their careers out. But you've got two people looking down the barrel of 60 going, you know what? We're in a pretty good place. Between the four of us, we can raise this kid. And this is going to be fun. And Joy's like, fuck it, I'm bringing the dogs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what? Joy's got you're coming to my place every other weekend. I will come over here Wednesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. That's the best I can do. And she's like, deal. Yeah. Something like that feels, yet again, Miranda thought she was going to have this certain life. And yet again, she's ended up, but she kind of attracts, she has got this nurturing side. She says she hasn't, but she hasn't. She kind of attracts the mess. And I would love to have seen her and Steve back, but now they totally not romantic in any way, but they were always good friends. They were always better as friends.
Which we kind of saw at that meal before Brady dropped the bomb. Yeah. And then, okay.
We're joining apartments or, we're going to do this together. Or even different apartments, but Brady can live with me. She can live with you, la, la, la,
yeah. La. And the fact that they had a Thanksgiving dinner where none of them show up.
So weird. And Steve wasn't at that Thanksgiving dinner. I thought this was going to be, we sit down and we say, as a family,
right,
we want to take responsibility for this child. This is our grandchild. And to have that conversation they had, but with the 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Going, how are you going to do this really? But the four of us could parent a kid. Brady, you have to step up here. This is your child. Mia, is this what you want? We can't impose ourselves upon you, but we don't want to not take responsibility or love this grandchild because she is on her own. What is she going to do? If she was I've got my setup, I actually don't want you around, but I can give you some access to your grandchild, fair play. But that's one storyline. And another storyline is I'm a complete mess. And my friends, this is who my friends are. This is her social circle. They're not going to look after a baby.
No. And yeah, they gave that Mamma Mia absolutely no redeeming qualities and no resolution to what's going to happen.
None.
And then even with Carrie, because I did write at the very beginning when she was complaining about being alone, I was like, we're back to season 1 of Sex and the City. We've burnt down all the bridges. Yeah. We have to start again. And I do like the fact that at the end of the episode, she's made peace with the idea of, I don't need a man. I've gone through this. I don't need to go down this road. I like that. But at the same time, if the show is a love story, as it has always been, from every film to every season, it's a love story. What we end up with is a bunch of, Miranda starting a relationship,
Seema.
How did you say it though?
Samantha.
Samantha. That's what I was trying to say. Samantha's starting a relationship. Charlotte's been in her own world, being a mom forever. Lisa is a mom forever. There's no. I agree with Carrie's editor from the last episode. This isn't a good ending.
This isn't a happy ending. You are happy ending editor. The thing is, I think the original show, instead of Big just turning up in Paris and saying you're the one, which I did not think was enough, what he'd put her through. And then she's like, really? And he goes, absolutely. I think it's something like that. And I'm like, that's not enough. He's going to screw you over again. And then he does. I think the original series, when she was in her 30s, should have ended with her going, that's all very nice, but I'm married to New York. And should have ended up with her back in New York, out there again. Then there's a reason for a movie, because a movie by its nature is one single story. It's not about what happens next week. It's one single story. So then you can have the rom-com movie of Carrie and Big, where she misses him, he pursues her, etc., etc. And then you get your happy ending in movie 1. And maybe we just don't have a movie 2.
Please.
And then, all movie 2 is about them,
anything but what it was actually
literally
about.
anything about. And then we have, and just like that, come back in their 50s. And if you want Big dead, you just cut to 5 years later. Big died 5 years. You have him die in a Peloton, and then you say 5 years later.
Yeah.
And she's joining an app. And we just don't get, because then we're into, women in their 50s dating. Miranda's best friends with Steve and they're co-parenting. And how do they date on apps? We get into, which we talked about this last week, but we talk about, Carrie dating in her 50s as a widow. That's now Charlotte, juggling. And then all we needed was Samantha or one other character in that role who's still out there living large and wanting that more exciting partyful lifestyle. And Candace Bushnell apparently has recently written something that I wanted to read for today, but I couldn't quite find, about dating in her 60s in New York and still having the time of her life.
Oh, cool.
She's 66. And, you just go, she's still living at large. She's Candace Bushnell. So she's invited out to all these parties, these opening nights. She's still meeting elegant, exciting, successful men. She's dating younger men, as women often do now because of apps, inviting that into their worlds, all of that sort of stuff.
It just, I guess the whole episode, it didn't end in that female friendship where they're all at the diner together. And it didn't end with that breath of the romantic story coming to a conclusion or coming to a start, a romantic love. It didn't do either of the two things that I like to see these characters do. I like them to chat to each other about their lives, and I like to see them fall in love. That is what I want, and I didn't get it.
The thing is, it seemed quite sad that Carrie ended up on her own because wasn't a choice. She's walking down the street and she says, after Big died and I got, past the devastation, I thought maybe Aiden. And then I thought maybe Duncan, even though he said he wasn't coming back, I thought maybe. And now I have to think maybe on my own. And that doesn't feel like a choice. If Duncan had called her and said, come to London, I miss you, it would be fun, And she'd thought about it and then she'd said, I moved once for a man. I moved to Paris for a man. And it didn't work. This time I'm going to choose myself. And, let the door's still open. Maybe, maybe we'll see each other again. I hope so. But I'm not moving for a man. I choose me. I choose New York. I choose my life. I choose my friends. I choose to live big here. And I choose to be hopeful. That feeling that she had about her book. Remember they asked her if you were an optimist or a pessimist. And she's like, I choose to be an optimist. And then you just see her, rather than being alone in her huge empty mausoleum of a house, dancing around to a karaoke machine that then strangely has lyrics. She could have been sort of back out. I would like to have seen her leave the house, choosing optimism, walking down that street, and a man nods at her and she smiles and she keeps walking, and she walks with her optimism of love and hope. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
wanting love. There's nothing wrong with wanting romance. There's nothing wrong with wanting sex. There's nothing wrong with wanting tomorrow to bring a surprise and a secret, but it's not giving up on that I think that's where Carrie should be. I really wanted her to end up with Duncan because I felt like Duncan was the first person where she said, he likes me because I'm smart. He was an equal. I mean, obviously, he was writing a Thatcher biography and she was writing the worst novel in the world. But let's put that to one side and just say they're two writers giving each other notes.
Can I say, though, she's writing romantic fiction. She is going to sell a bazillion more copies than him. If I had to pick a Thatcher biography that's 700 freaking pages or 250 pages of sexy, steamy Victorian love in London, I'm like, I know which one I'm buying. So it might be a bad novel, but it's gonna fly off the shelves. And that's always what she's always been a pop writer.
She's a
pop writer. And that's what's actually kind of in right now is that those sort of romance novels and fan fiction and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought that they would wind up together, like not, married by the end of the season, but together because she made this whole point of like, he sees me as me. And their whole relationship started with her not vying for him, like every other relationship, she just kind of falls head over heels and like tries to quit smoking for Aiden or tries to be perfect for Big. And in this one, even their first interaction, which I quite loved that scene where he comes up and he's like, the shoes. And she was like, I'll be more aware of it. And he's like, why don't you just take your shoes off? And she's like, oh no, I don't. I liked that scene because it was also
scribble, right?
Yeah.
Scribble comedy.
Yeah. And it was also, instead of her feeling so self-conscious about making noise in her own house, she was like, well, I'll do what I can, but I won't change my life for you. And that's how their meet cute was that. So how great would it be to watch that flourish? I don't know.
I would have loved it. And I've argued with other Guilty Feminist co-hosts about it who've gone, no. He's writing a Thatcher biography. Absolutely not. No. He was rude to her. But I feel the same as you. I feel like they had a really romantic comedy, yes, in real life, hopefully someone wouldn't be that rude, but it's a romantic comedy. It's someone coming up and says, like, I can't write. I can't think. Do you have to have the clacking shoes? And then going, I apologise. Can I make you dinner? And because he's British, Michael Patrick King thinks it'll be mutton.
I was like, I've never seen.
No, I've never heard of it. But that's what Michael Patrick King thinks, and it's quite funny. He's a British man with a terrible stew. Fine, and then they start to trade. Put aside the way the woman is written. They'd start to trade. I think you've got a problem with that. I think that's a little. I'm not sure about that. And she's really enjoying it. And we've never seen her like this before. When she tried to give feedback to Berger, he would crumble into a fragile ball and then cry and then write a Post-it note saying, I can't be with you and fuck off. Like, he was terrible. This guy was made of something. They could go back and forth. And he was a bit rock and roll. He was like, the only time I've written at this speed is that you're writing at is fueled by Coke.
Yeah.
He was rock and roll. I thought he was everything. He said, didn't have kids, thank God. He was her. He was the male her in many ways.
Yeah.
I don't know why they couldn't have been together. It was so mad to me. Why would he leave such a hot woman with such a beautiful house without a door, with such a, not that you, with someone for a house, but it was all kind of sexy, and with such could take him out to all these fabulous they would have had a blast together.
I mean, I guess like after they're in bed, because they do have sex, and I think it's the previous episode, and they're talking about it, and he's like, well, we realized when we went out that you're a thing and I'm a mess. And I was like, yeah, but in London, you're a thing. That was established by Samantha called and said he's a thing.
He's a thing.
So he's a thing and a mess in London.
And she's a thing and a mess in New York.
Listen,
you're the only one who gets it. Thank God, Abigoliah. I've tried to explain this to other people and everyone's like, nah. I'm like, no, they're both a thing and a mess.
Yeah.
They're both at the same actually age appropriate, same stage of life.
Yeah.
And they're both a bit offbeat. Like he's smoking a pipe because there's characters in the book smoking a pipe, whatever. But she would do that. She's, wearing sort of Victorian style skirts and Vivienne Westwood corsets because she's writing something Victorian so clearly. I do that if I'm writing something. I kind of live it a little bit. Like today, you've turned up in a fabulous dress because you were watching and just like that and went, I need to feel a bit fashionless. I'm walking down the street. This is what creatives do. We inhabit it, we embody it, we wear it. And she'd finally found somebody who would come upstairs and be really playful, but really on her level. Like Aidan would come in and go, oh, what's all this in the closet?
Yeah.
And he would come in and go, yes, and the shoe. I'm going to talk to your shoe in a ridiculous way. But it was playful, and he seemed to really get her and connect with her.
Yeah, when he, first of all, also, may I say, not only are they writers, but they write such different things that it would work. You know what I mean?
It's not competitive.
Because it's not competitive. But, also the scene where he goes upstairs for the first time, and he's so cute about it. He's like, I'm breaching the wall.
Yeah.
And he comes in and sees all of her dresses and is like, what is this?
Yeah.
And he sees the shoes and he's like, the glitter. Like, it is so joyful to watch a man who Carrie could possibly be with love the thing she loves. Maybe not on the level that she loves it, but just looks at it and goes, I get this. This
cool.
is fun. Why wouldn't you have bedazzled shoes? Why, he looked at it and went, aren't you fun? As opposed to, why would anyone, own 700 pairs of high heels? I will say every time I dip into the Sex and the City world, I'm like, gosh, I wish I was a heels girl.
Oh, I know. I'm a kind of low chunky heel now. I can't be running around town like that. And she had a foot operation. How does she do it?
I don't know.
So Jonathan Cake has said, who plays Duncan, has said on his Instagram, wait, did I just kill and just like that, Max? Duncan finally has one night of passion with Carrie Bradshaw and the show's over forever? Caps forever, question mark, question mark, question mark. Was it, judging by this picture, his surprisingly small head? There's a picture of him where the perspective means his shoulders and he looks very buff and his head looks small. Or something else a little underwhelming. Dunkin' Donuts. I guess America won't run on Dunkin', but it was an exquisite pleasure while it lasted. And then he copies people in and so on and so on. Such a joy, la la la. He ends up saying, thank you for having me on your team for a very hot minute. Now, this implies that he was promised a second season, I think.
Yeah.
But the show got cancelled. There's no way they knew this was going to end at all. They just recut it to make it look like there was a series ending, and it was entirely
When did they announce that this was going to be the last season? Because,
2 episodes ago.
Okay, yeah, they didn't know. Because I would say that I feel like the writers of Sex and the City would try a little harder if they knew this was going to be the end of the end of the end.
Oh, my God, yes.
If
they thought they had 2 more seasons, I think, and then it got cancelled because it had bad ratings. King told Variety, this is from a magazine article, Michael Patrick King told Variety that he's so proud of what they've accomplished, especially when it comes to Carrie's character. She's made her mark, and as a writer, I feel we've made our mark. I never thought once about continuing. King told the Outlook. Absolutely not true. Telling it like it is, it's an instinct. Anyone else would keep going. I can't.
Okay, they kept this going in such a wrong direction for so long that no, you have to keep going to fix it so we can watch it and finally I really did think this season, I was like, we're coming back to basics. Like even just the first episode of this season where it's like Miranda's dating and she goes on a date with icon Rosie O'Donnell, and Rosie O'Donnell's a nun, and then it's like, I slept with a nun. And then it's like, okay, we're getting back to japes. We're getting back to silly sex things. We're getting back to
that was good fun.
Dating. Like, I was like, okay, we're back in the rhythm of it. And obviously there's like more about, parenting and more serious subjects. But I was like, we're coming home. We're coming home to what we like about Sex and the City, I
totally agree with you. And had they done that from the beginning, had they just had Miranda from the beginning, instead of like being pretty abusive to Steve, if they just had those 2 split, co-parenting, good friends, both dating, Miranda now dating women.
Skip the alcoholism.
Yeah,
Or
her first experience with a woman, or have the alcoholism, but have it played for drama, and then have the, if you want it, and then have. But the queer stuff is what we were, I think, interested in, and if they'd played that out and they'd had her first experience with a woman and then her dating a nun, it didn't have to be as good as Sex and the City.
Mm-hmm.
They just had to be the same characters, having some japes and adventures, exploring life now, dating in the 2020s, in their 50s. That's all it had to be. It didn't have to be great. It just had to be watchable.
Yeah.
And using that same format with what is it like now? What is it like when you're menopausal and having sex? What is it like when you're trying to date women for the first time? What is it like when you're dating and you still live with your 20-year-old son? Those things.
I mean, after we watched last season together and we were all up in arms about how bad this show is, I went back and watched Sex and the City. I was like, I'm going to revisit. And I'll be honest, some of it, and I think now because it's 2025, of course, but some of it does make you want to throw your shoe at the TV. You're like, get your shit together,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But like...
Yeah.
But the core of it was so joyful. And I think you really touched on something where it's like, okay, they're going to kill Big Off, kill him 5 years later. I've seen other television shows do that. So then we're back and she's dating and we have breakfast at the diner and they're talking about dating. And then, of course, Charlotte's not dating, but that's fine because she's Charlotte and she's always wanted to be in love. And like,
and Charlotte's the advice giver. And I think they had a absolute prime thing that Charlotte has Lily, who actually should have been older apparently in the timeline. They made Lily and Brady younger than they should have been for the timeline. And I think it would be more interesting if they were older. And somebody suggested, I don't remember where I read it now, but that Lily was the fourth person at the table. And that because Lily was meant to be more like 26, I think.
Okay, that's interesting.
And that could have been really interesting because if Lily's now the fourth one at the table and she's the next generation, she's still got the young person dating problems, but they've now got the older ones. And it's not icky because Charlotte's not dating.
Yeah.
Charlotte's not going, oh, and then my vibrator broke. And if you want her to be able to talk about her sex life with Harry, and obviously Lily doesn't want to hear that, you have the three of them.
Well, and then we can get rid of the rando in the apartment.
Oh, my God.
Which, by the way, that was another prediction of mine is that I was going to say Sarah Jessica Parker, Carrie takes back the apartment.
Yes, that's what I said.
I was like, she goes home.
I think she should have gone home. I think what they were predicting was this. She goes to visit Lizette. Lizette's got like 20 young artists cramped in this apartment. She's cut it in half so another artist can live on the other side. And she's rattling around in this huge house. So I thought what she was going to offer is, because I think Lizette technically owns it, but she gave it to her for a song. I thought what she was going to offer is, I'll move back here, knock down these walls, put it back how I like it, and you go and live in the big house and fill it with artists, fill it with young people, fill it with youth, fill it with life. You can all have your own room and paint and do whatever, make your jewelry, do whatever you want, make it a commune. Because you don't like living alone. Lizette said she doesn't like living alone.
Maybe that's what they were going to do. And they ran out of time. Because why else bring Lizette back in to go, I don't like being on my own. I like people around. I thought, unless you were going to do the house swap.
I really think they should have. But I think that might have been next season's plan.
Yeah.
It was just so weird to watch her dancing around this mausoleum-style huge house that she'd bought for Aiden and his kids. And she didn't trade down. But also, if she was on the street in New York, do you remember how they ended the original season where she's walking down the street in New York and she's ringing Big and she goes, he's like, I'm coming, baby. Like he's selling up a napper and coming. But what we see is she's not with Big. He's on the phone, but she's not with Big. She's walking down the street in New York being Carrie. And to see her just reduced, because she's in her 50s, she stays in. I'm like, no, have her walking down the street.
Yeah.
Have a handsome man nod at her. Have her go. It's life. It's not like she's now looking for the one anymore.
Yeah.
It's not, but she's looking for life. She's looking for adventure. She's looking for romance. She's looking for excitement. She's looking for sex. If that had been the theme of the end of like, this doesn't have to stop. This is, my 60s are going to be my best decade because I've got money. I've got this newfound creativity as a novel writer. Obviously, let's not dwell on the novel, but, you know, this is my novel phase. This is my storytelling phase, and I'm going to tell the story of my life. And actually telling the story of your own life, that she's never done that before. What she's always done is she'll live life and report back. And in a novel, you're inventing your own future, ironically, in a past setting for her. But that could have been great. Yeah. What's my next chapter?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Write your own chapter. That should have been the theme.
Yeah, I like that because I guess what was the theme? Being alone is okay, which it is, but like also she's not. So again, show her not alone. Show her that iconic shot from, I think it was the movie of the four of them walking down New York City. Yeah. That actually gives me chills. Yeah. Like that thing of, and she still goes out and she still does stuff. So why? There's nothing wrong with being happy in your own home and enjoying your own company, but
that's just not Carrie's last word. Can't be that.
The reason why Carrie Bradshaw could live in a studio apartment for 20 years, and I remember one time when I knew someone who lived in the Lower East Side, his entire apartment, bedroom, kitchen, maybe as big as the room we're in now.
Wow.
I mean, we're in
a small room, and that's for acoustics.
Yeah. He would always be like, everyone asks me how I can live in such a small apartment. And he goes, but this isn't my apartment. The Lower East Side is or he's like, this isn't my house. The Lower East Side is my house. She could live in a small apartment with nothing but clothes hanging everywhere because New York is her home. In New York is where she lives.
She goes out to eat. Yeah. She doesn't drink alone at home. She drinks out in the bars with her friends.
Yeah.
She's always getting dressed for a date. And she uses the bed and she uses the desk. But the desk is facing the window. She looks out the window. She looks out at New York when she writes. She always has. So, yeah, I feel the same. I feel like I would like to have seen not all this stuff about being alone, but being ready to write the next adventure. Yeah. To the idea of the one permanent one. That, if she could make peace with that, but go, I realize there's going to be lots of Duncans. There's going to be lots of, what she loves is the romance. And the romance tends to be at the beginning, not in the midpoint. The romance is the beginning and the end of things. But the midpoint often is domesticity. It's a little dull. So if she realized, I love writing my own story. I love creating my own adventures. So the next 10 years is going to be for me about writing a new story every day, living a new story every day, finding a new adventure, being open to there being somebody, but that will be its own adventure when it happens. And if it's a short chapter, some men are short chapters, some men are long chapters. Some relationships are, that's what she says at the end of Sex and the City, the biggest adventure, the most important love is the love you have with yourself. And that's what this should have been, but moved on.
Big Speeches is back. Hello, Guilty Feminists. It's Jessica Regan here. Delighted to tell you that our online communication workshop, Big Speeches, is back with a bang for the end of the summer. Okay, so if you would like to participate in our workshop, which has helped hundreds of Guilty Feminists already, please do book for one of the following dates. We're hosting the workshops at the end of August, the 30th and 31st, Saturday and Sunday, and those workshops are at 10:30 a.m. At the end of September, we're hosting workshops the 28th and the 27th, so Saturday and Sunday again, and those workshops are at 3 p.m. So hopefully there's a bit of flexibility with time zones and routines, etc. We want to help anyone who wants to participate in this workshop make it happen. We have a subsidised rate and we have also lowered our prices for the standard rate. So please do get online, places are limited and we really want to accommodate you. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Why do you think they even made In Just Like That? You know what I mean? Because we're talking about the themes of the old show and how it could have carried on to this later part of her life. And they missed the mark so hard that, you got to wonder, did they think, why do you think they thought this was a good idea?
It's a really tricky one, isn't it? But
because I can't think it's a money grab.
I suspect that's part of it. But I think it's more, let's be more generous than that. I think if you have a big iconic hit, that's the biggest, most iconic hit any of you have ever had. And then when you leave it, you're all in your 30s. Probably Michael Patrick King was older, but he probably was only in his 40s. And you leave it thinking we'll have more iconic hits like this. And then you don't, because very few people have a hit as big as Sex and the City. If you have one, you're never going to have another one. I remember Jerry Seinfeld saying, I don't expect to have anything like that. It's amazing I got one. I'm never going to have a hit like Seinfeld again. How could that be? I saw John Hamm interviewed recently, and he said, someone said, how do you deal with having a hit as big as Mad Men, and how do you replicate that? And he just cut the guy off and said, you don't. You understand that's the biggest thing that's ever going to happen for you. And then you enjoy what comes off the back of that, making other shows and other films, and you have a wonderful time. But you're not going to catch lightning in a bottle a second time. So I think what happens is often people think they will, or they'll have something, and some people do. Some people do have a second iconic thing. But I think you get to a point where you're like, I haven't really done anything that satisfied me, filled me up, made me feel so successful, maybe not feel like a one-hit wonder for a long time. What if we take this precious property that we nurtured? Everyone loves the characters. We didn't get the movies right. But there's still a lot of people love them, and they're still out there, and, they added something to the canon. What if we now said, hey, dating in your 50s different from your 30s. Let's explore that. And I think the problem is Michael Patrick King has become someone that has yes men around him, maybe, or no one dares say no to him.
So many people get to that point.
He's not listening anymore, and he's also very removed, as you said before.
Yeah.
From real life. He's not a woman in his 50s, and I don't get the feeling he's listening.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there was, even though sometimes, like I said, if I go back and watch old Sex and the City, you want to throw your shoe at it because Carrie can be so whiny and just
awful.
Fucking,
the worst friend.
Also take yourself seriously and stop pining over men who don't deserve you. But there was so much heart in that, and they were trying so hard. And I lived in New York from 2004 to 2028, and when I showed up, we were all trying to live the Sex and the City life on a budget, and going out, and who was the Samantha, and who was the Carrie, and who's the Miranda of the group, and now, there's nothing about this show now that women in their 50s or 60s would be like, I'm the Carrie, I'm the Seema. No. They weren't archetypes of real women. I guess that's the thing. The first one was okay, you have the one who's a Disney princess, hopeless romantic. You have the one who loves herself and loves sex. You have Carrie, who is a hopeless and unfortunate romantic. You have
creative, wild curly hair, not looking for the marriage and the walk down the aisle or anything like that, or even the children or whatever, but just looking for this big passionate love, not
this
the Disney
adventure,
love, but the bodice ripping,
And then you have Miranda, who's the career woman, who's kind of always has, her whole vibe has been trying to have it all, even when she didn't want it, And you look at it now, and it's those aren't even the and Lisa. They brought in Lisa, I guess, so Charlotte had a friend. But Lisa and Charlotte are the same person.
I know. And they'd cast it, back in the 90s, it was cast so white.
Yeah.
And they were trying to address that, which, they should address it. But there was a fourth seat at the table open, which could have been Lily, who's not white, which could have been someone like Seema. And then, of course, populated a different show. You can populate with different characters, but they can't all have their own storyline every single week. They can't, because, that's this. Yeah, don't make the same uninclusive mistakes of the 90s and the noughties, but nor should you not fairly give space to black and brown women you've cast. And then don't make it an undesirable show to be in, because they don't get to have that same amazing experience. Let's talk a little bit about, we've talked about Michelle Obama. how did you feel about Lisa saying to Marion, this cannot go any further, there's a vibe?
It just seemed so anticlimactic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there was so little bit of a vibe between them that it's like, is it in her head or is he really hitting on her? And when he's like, okay, yeah, we work together, his response to it is like, I can't tell if he thinks there's a vibe. And he's like, you're calling this out now. We are on the edge of being inappropriate. We have to pull back. Or if he's like, I'm just nodding because you're my boss. Like, I couldn't tell how he felt about it.
I certainly wouldn't say that to somebody if I just felt a vibe. If I wanted to draw an actual line, thinking, is something going on here? I certainly wouldn't accuse them of it because he had done nothing apart from go down on a papaya, which was weird.
Yeah.
I grant you that. But men just deny that. If you've ever fronted a man and gone, what's going on here? They will always deny. They will always deny. Unless you say, look, are we, you make a physical move and they make it back, or you say, oh, do you want to go for a drink? And it'd be like, you can, but if you just said, hey, there's a vibe and I don't like it, they would go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is an absolute. Men around the world, 100% of the time, and I'm not prepared to back down on this. Listeners, please write in with your exceptions to this rule, but I reckon it's pretty much, because he had never done anything.
No, and like when he invited her to the film, he legitimately was trying to give her an industry contact.
That's right.
Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have called her and been like, I have this person who knows Michelle on the phone. He wouldn't have passed the phone.
And she was the weird one that just suddenly stormed out of the documentary.
Because their legs touched in a theater.
Imagine he had said to her, we got to stop this, I'm married. I think she would have been quite offended.
Yeah.
Because literally she'd done nothing. So I feel what I would do in that situation is just go, I'd love to go out and have a drink and celebrate this. Well, in fact, I just would, because I would think it's a bit weird to go, no, we're not allowed to have a drink to celebrate something. But if I thought, oh, this is a bit dangerous for me, I think I would just say, do you know what? I have a bit of a policy. If I'm working with somebody where there could be any kind of sexual tension, just, post Me Too, I try and keep it platonic till the end of the thing. Let's have a really nice bottle of champagne. Or I'd say, let's celebrate this. How about you bring your wife, I'll bring my husband.
Yeah.
And we'll all have dinner. Something like that just gives the message without going freaking out. But I know it's a TV show, and sure.
But he was so underdeveloped. Like, when she called it out, I just couldn't tell.
Whether he was, it's so funny that you say that, whether he was just going along with it because I don't want to get fired.
Well, do you remember
I have to
that
pretend I fancy her
episode in Sex and the City where there was a guy who lived across the street from Miranda and was getting naked, and he was like parading for the gay guy who lived underneath.
He said, "Oh, you live above that man I'm cruising," and she's like, "Yeah, hi, bye."
That's as much character development as Marion had. It's like he's just this like person in a window for her to lust after, but what does he think of all this?
What does he think of all this? We will never know because it's over. I'm so sorry to break it to you. I should have broken that to you more gently.
I'm glad. Because I was like, guys, I think we're getting back to it. I think by next season, they'll finally have figured it out.
We've talked about a lot of these other elements organically, but Adam Karma Gardens, the gardener, he's done this beautiful garden for Carrie, and she's like, could you put it all back the way it was to be more wild and free? The problem was it had rats. It feels like everything in this show gets cancelled out. Like, it's just like, well, we might as well not have bothered. It's like, just put it back. And he's like, sure, however you want it. Well, I guess it's more money for him. But I was going to say, fuming if I'd gone to all the trouble he's gone to make this beautiful garden. And she said, put it all back.
It's not that good of a garden. Like,
it's a lot of work.
I'm sorry. I've never been a landscaper, but it's just, that's something I feel like any of us could have designed. Like, I wasn't
Fair.
like, look at what he did, you know?
Fair. But it's still a lot of work to plant all those plants. He's always down in the dirt doing all of that.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, put it all back. But the problem was, if she didn't have this more landscape garden, she was going to get rats. And it's just like nothing matters in this show. Everything gets
You know what gets me, though, about that, too, is she's like, I'm ready for it to go back to the way it was. And he's literally planting bulbs for the spring. Like, he's
I know.
he's like, okay, no problem. And in my head, I'm like, are you going to dig those up? Like, what happens to the bulbs? Because he's like, I'm not going to tell you what they are. They're a surprise. And she's like, change it all.
Oh, I know. Can I talk about Silvio and Epcot, Slappably Rude? They were the worst characters I've ever seen on television because it's what they think Gen Zs are like, but they're not. They're not like that. I've never met anyone like that. I've met people where I've gone, as a Gen X myself, I've gone, that's quite a hard edge there, or that's a sort of, seems to me like, you're overstepping a mark, but it's much more subtle than that. And what I especially didn't like is Silvio says, who's the kind of camp one, says about Brady, in front of Brady, in Brady's home, says, Brady's ginger, no girl, bye. Now, an inclusive Gen Z would not say that, but also Epcot has exactly the same colour hair as Brady. And Epcot didn't turn around and go,
what the fuck? Yeah.
Don't talk like that. But nor did Mamma Mia. This is just bullying. And you've walked into someone's house and talked about them as if they're not there, undermining them because they've got red hair. I'm like, this is horrible behaviour. And then Mamma Mia implausibly says, I only eat brown rice, seaweed and cucumber. I think you'd probably you shouldn't be eating that if you're pregnant. You'd be have a lot of
that was one of those things where I was like, is this an Ayurvedic diet? Or is this since I've been pregnant, all I want is cucumber?
Absolutely.
And
that
brown
was a
rice
way around it of like, I'm so sorry, I've got cravings. But it was like, well, nobody asked me. Oh, well, you didn't tell me that. Well, nobody asked me. No one is going to ask you. They might say dietary requirements. But it's Thanksgiving. You kind of know what Thanksgiving is. If you've got dietary requirements, don't you send them through and say, I'm so sorry, I'll bring my own food.
Yeah.
Or if you've got these things, that would be lovely. I just don't believe it. And then he goes out to get it, leaving his turkey. And when he comes back, she says she's eating cheese. And she said, well, no one asked you to do that. Yes, you did. You did say, you made it very clear that that's what you needed, and you were offended no one had asked you up until now. I just thought these were repugnant characters, and how would Miranda and Steve ever have this person in their life? I don't think they will know their grandchild, because this person and her friends are the worst people.
They're just such cartoons of... I really hate it when, like, as an elder millennial, how people our age, me and you, Deborah, just like shit on Gen Z. And I'm just like, you realize that like everyone shat on us when we were younger, like me for avocados, you got the Gen X for, I don't know, grunge. I don't like, or being really more, like, what, like,
well, it was sort of, you know, it was that Reality Bites thing of, we're going to go and starve in a garret, but also use, you know, Winona Ryder in that uses her dad's secondhand BMW and uses the card he gives her to buy gas to get groceries from the service station, that kind of thing. I mean, every generation has that. And look, Gen Z have their faults and have their strengths like any generation.
Yeah.
And but they are inheriting an enormous, just an extraordinary, terrifying future of robots and climate change and being underwater and never being able to afford property. And it just feels, it was just all horrible.
It was just such a cartoon of like a shadow of an idea.
It was. And then Epcot, who we don't know, goes to the loo. He says he's dairy-free, can't eat dairy, can't process dairy, and then eats all this cheese and then keeps running to the loo. And then someone else goes to use the loo and it overflows and we have to see it all. And I was just like, I was eating when I was watching it and I stopped eating because I was like, this is so disgusting. And there is literally no comedy payoff at all. I don't find that kind of thing funny, but I understand how it can be funny. Like in Bridesmaids, the bridesmaid we're rooting for that's finding this whole thing very difficult takes everyone to her favourite Mexican place. That makes everyone sick. When the bride's trying on the wedding dress, it's suddenly everyone's getting diarrhea and she runs out into the street and has to sit down in a big meringue wedding dress in the street with diarrhea. I can see it's mortifying for the bridesmaids. It's mortifying for the bride. We care about these people, and that's why it's funny.
Yeah, what we see in Bridesmaids is we don't physically see any shit in Bridesmaids. We see their reaction. So we see, oh gosh, what's her name? She sits like, I think, in a sink and is like, don't look at me. Don't look at me.
Yes.
Don't look at me. Like, we see them having a hard time and being embarrassed and mortified. In this episode, what we see is Victor Garber first of all, we see him pee as well.
Too many men peeing in this show. Why do we need to see it?
I don't know. And then we see the shit come up from the toilet, him go, oh no. He leaves, and then we see Miranda clean it up. There's no like...
No.
There's no...
Epcot's not embarrassed. Epcot's not there anymore.
He's gone. Victor Garber, what's his character's name again?
Mark
is just like, good day.
Good day to you, sir.
Yeah, and leaves.
So it's not Mark's problem. I can see why he's grossed out and he leaves. Epcot was never affected by it. Epcot is not humiliated. Epcot doesn't care about anybody else but Epcot. Mm-hmm. And Epcot is already gone. So what's funny about the loo, if you find the loo funny, in Bridesmaids, it's a funny scene because, as you say, people we care about are mortified for obvious reasons, and we see their big reactions. So crap isn't funny. Reactions are funny.
Yeah.
But because Epcot's gone, Mark's reaction is perfectly like standard of like, oh, this is a bit gross, I'm leaving. And Miranda's just down on her hands and knees as one of our most beloved television characters. And the last thing we see of her is on her knees in shit.
Yeah.
And Carrie's like, with her lover, by the way, who must come in, the whole room must reek. She gets down on her knees, hugs her. She's wearing these crappy crappy marigolds.
She hugged her with the gloves on. I was like, I love my partner too much to hug them.
With crap on my gloves. I would go, please get out, get out. I don't want you to see this. It's disgusting and it smells.
Exactly.
Just go out, I'll come out, I'll talk to you. I just wouldn't want my big romantic, forever. This is their forever moment.
Yeah.
This is her forever moment with Joy, which is I'm coming to be with your family because you turned up for me. And they're literally on their knees in shit. And she's got crap all over her rubber gloves and is hugging the love of her life. And I'm just like, this is not a fair end for Miranda on her knees in shit. Sorry. Absolutely no. So Carrie goes without even shouting out, bye, I'll leave you to it.
She just sneaks out.
She does the
I will say, in your synopsis, as you were summing up the show at the very beginning, and you were like, she was wearing this red, horrible thing.
I mean, sorry, I was just outraged.
I loved that dress.
It wasn't a dress you'd wear for Thanksgiving. I know it's Carrie Bradshaw, but everyone else is like turning up. She's surrounded by, I just felt so, I tell you what, I didn't hate the dress. I felt sorry for the dress because all the dress got to do was meant to go to Thanksgiving with Carrie's friends. Mm-hmm. But the friends didn't show up. None of her friends showed up. Even Miranda, who was hosting, left. And she was left with Brady, who was at a very sullen, difficult place. Shouts at her for taking out the turkey when he has told her, please take it out and don't let it burn. And she doesn't cook. Mm-hmm. He hasn't given her any instructions. He hasn't said stick the thermometer in. He hasn't said at this time. He hasn't said when the oven timer goes off. How the fuck does she know? I'm not a cook and I would be panicked.
Yeah.
So he shouts at her. The other friends are vile to her. Charlotte can't come. Seema can't come. Anthony can't come. She hasn't got one friend there. Mm-hmm. And then Mark is hitting on her. She doesn't like him. Miranda leaves for someone else, comes back and ends up, there's shit everywhere. It is horrible. And that's what that dress goes to go to. So I should retract that. It's not a terrible dress. It deserved more.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been at that party. It deserved more. Like Carrie in the day was invited to all of the most exciting things and she would dress up to strut down the street. Mm-hmm. She's now home alone in a mausoleum, having gone to a shit party in every conceivable sense of that word, in a dress that was far too... Like, she's now not invited to any of these things. She is, of course she is.
Yeah.
Why aren't we seeing her?
Yeah, we got to see him at the bridal show at the beginning of this. Which I was like, because I quite like a wedding dress. So I was like, oh, fashion show and it's a bridal show. But yeah, it's not... Yeah, it's not the, tonight is the
I know.
You know,
it
not,
just feels so sad.
you
The
know,
whole thing feels so sad.
the
None of them are
opening
gonna
of
get
this
married.
new restaurant by...
Yeah, they had a bridal show. This is meant to be about women in their 50s. None of them
That's
are getting
actually
married.
a really good point.
Why would she
is it
say
a
you've got to
bridal-
bring your fashionista friends? She's a wedding gown designer. Lisa is married. Charlotte is married. Seema, we have just found out, will never get married. Carrie's been married and has basically said, I'm not going to get married again. No, and she'd like to be with someone like Duncan, but she's not going to get married again. Why is this a bridal thing? I don't understand.
It should have just been a fashion show.
It should have been like some amazing older designer. You know, when I had Vivienne Westwood there, you know, last week with the iconic dress, which was actually that was her own dress. That was Vivienne's dress, because I saw that the Royal Academy had, it was an auction for various Vivienne Westwood supported charities of some of Vivienne's private collection after Vivienne Westwood died. Mm-hmm. I met Vivienne Westwood once. It was wonderful. And she was an extraordinary human being. I mean, slightly off kilter.
You would imagine.
But the fact that was her dress and she wore it, and you could see she'd been out in it. Sometimes they'd leave like a lipstick mark or something on the dresses to say this is Vivienne's and she had a great time in it and this is how it was. And it was like, that dress had been tacked up with the wrong colour thread. So she'd done it herself at home. Mm. And that, you know, that's iconic. That's where this show should be, with these iconic older designers and things like that. What the fuck are we at a bridal thing for? Just so they can talk about marriage. I'm like, honestly.
And again, you can talk about marriage looking at each other in the diner.
In the diner. And then we could see them. It was just, oh my God. And I can't even talk about Harry's erection anymore. It's been weeks of this. Weeks of Harry's erection.
Yeah.
Harry's erection has had as much airtime as Michelle Obama, and we've seen neither.
Okay, so here's what I'll say about Evan Handler, who plays Harry. Much like Sarah Ramirez, who played Che Diaz, they are given nothing, and they are chewing on it so well. Mm-hmm. Like, I love watching him be Harry, even though he's given so little, especially...
Oh, he does a great job at nothing.
Yeah, so when you're like, I'm tired of hearing about his erection, I'm like, oh, maybe I am too. I just forgot every time he shows up. I'm like, oh, it's Harry. Oh, it's Harry I think again, he's great. I do like him. I think
he's got to care about more than his erection at this age and point in his life with his kids in the house. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Also, cut to them having Thanksgiving together. His whole thing was like, I want to have Thanksgiving with my family. They did in the end
because there was a thing about the photos.
Oh, shoot. I forgot about that.
Rock said, I'm going to be many people in my life, and she was cool about seeing photos of herself. It was very brief. You blink and you miss it. Okay, so every week I do a thing where I rewrite, because as the listeners know, I think that and I'm not the only one, that the voiceover and Carrie's column was doing a lot of heavy lifting in thematically linking stories, some of which were very light in the original SATC, but we understood why we were watching it because she would link with the voiceover. Yeah. So I have done the opening monologue and some segues, imagine they go between the scenes, to see if I can link this puppy together.
Where they just have a silent and just like that, no music. You know where they I hate that. I'm like, put music, put something. Okay, I can't wait to hear this.
All right, so this is Carrie. This is her opening monologue and some segues. As I sat opposite an orange doll, I couldn't decide if this was a plushie party or a pity party. In a city of 8 million people full of nightclubs and gatherings and dates, I couldn't help wondering, were we all just really only ever a party of one?
Yes, I love this. This would have made it a final episode. Keep going, Deborah.
And speaking of parties, Lisa managed to get us invited to the bridal party of the century, a fashion show where we all looked at what we felt we were missing, married or not, the white gowns of hope and romance, at a time when it all seemed like our perfect party of two would be ours forever. Before divorce, before children, before bereavement. And Seema realised her party with Adam might be one that didn't involve wedding bells, but that family and gluten-free pie might be a party she could come to love. Meanwhile, Charlotte's party was just about to go off now that Harry finally had his party whistle at full mast. And Anthony decided his party of one was ready to become a party of two again, as long as there was plenty of pie. On the other side of town, Miranda's party yet again expanded to include a new lover, Steve, 2 dogs, and a baby. And as for me, well, I was alone again. But this time, for the first time, I knew how to have a party on my own.
Yes.
See, doesn't it help?
Yes. And then
Just tells you.
just party
She's
on
a
my
writer.
own is so better than be on my own. If they had had that voiceover with her dancing in her kitchen, Debs, you gave me cold chills. That's that's
you.
really beautiful.
Thank you.
Why?
Okay. I know.
They should have called you. They
know,
should
I
after
know, I know.
you took apart the first season. You should have been like,
I know. I
they
really
should have
liked the
called you.
line where Seema said, "Why did you want to get married to Carrie?" And she said, "I wanted to feel chosen." And I thought that was actually insightful. And it really shows up like we should choose ourselves. We shouldn't need to be chosen by someone else, but it does feel good to be chosen. And I thought that's a really interesting, knotty thing. That was one thing I liked. That's the end of my list. Now, did you like anything?
I like I said, Carrie's dress. I did like. I'm a sucker for a bridal gown, so I loved that. Who is Mark? No, wait. Actually in the bridal thing, I did like when Lisa looked at Charlotte and was like, "If you had known everything you know now, would you still get married?" And Charlotte just is like, "Of course." And that was so Charlotte. And so that made that, I think her character stayed
truest to any of the characters.
Yeah, more anchored to who she was than any of the others.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why anytime, even though we heard about Harry's erection all the time, whenever it was Charlotte or Harry, I was always really enjoying it whenever it was Charlotte, whom I never cared about in the first season, but...
I absolutely agree. Charlotte was, I mean, she became manic and cartoonish, but she was the most Charlotte-y. All right, so we usually have Easter eggs. When have we seen a bridal fashion show before in Sex and the City?
In the film.
Yes.
Where the Vogue shoot.
Yes. Yep. When did Steve and Miranda talk about getting old? And now it was like a replica scene where they're like, we're grandparents now. Oh my God, we're going to be grandparents. They once imagined themselves old when they were in their 30s. They were sitting outside. Oh. They had beers.
Well, I mean, it would have been in Brooklyn then, but I don't remember this scene.
There was an old couple coming up and arguing, and they said, I think this has been an Easter egg of mine before, but they said the couple were arguing about where they arranged to meet or something.
Was this in the show?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this at all.
She says, that's going to be us. And he goes, that's already us. And then she then asks him a question, an important question.
And then that's when she proposes to him.
Yes, that's
okay.
right.
Yep.
Okay, and now I've got the ultimate Easter egg of all Easter eggs, and I'm so excited to put this on Instagram. But I'm going to play it for you because no one else has, I believe, spotted this Easter egg. And I believe it's the greatest Easter egg in the history of Sex and the City. Now, a lot of people have criticized the way the novel is written because it starts with the woman. So I'm going to play you this, and I'm going to see if you recognize it. The next voice you're going to hear is going to be Berger's.
Did the man have a little repressed anger? Or did he just dislike pigeons, the woman wondered?
The woman is tripping over the term repressed.
Berger came up with the woman, and she picked it up. So it was Berger's narrative device. Way back when she and Berger first met, went on their first non-date, were eating McDonald's, and then he's like, I've got to go to the dry cleaners. She comes too, and he reveals he has a girlfriend.
No.
Yes. Can you see why that's the greatest Easter egg in the history of Sex and the City? And no one else has spotted it yet. I cannot wait to get it to Instagram. I'm going to put it on Instagram today and go.
I did not pick that up at all.
Nobody will, because I just happened to, I can't remember why I was watching it. I was looking for another Easter egg going, I'm sure it's in here. And then I saw him go, the man felt this, the woman wondered that. And then she goes, the woman wondered da-da-da-da. And they were both like pretending to type. Mm-hmm. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Berger invented the woman. It's not Carrie's invention. I mean, everyone hates it. So
yeah. So of course it was invented by Berger.
Berger, who wrote probably the greatest words in Sex and the City history. What are those words?
we need to break up?
No. He wrote them down. He's a writer, and he left her.
Is this what was on the Post-it note?
Yes!
But what was on the Post-it note?
I'm sorry. I can't. Don't
hate
me. Yes.
Yes.
And that is our Easter egg game. There was an Easter egg from last week, I realised. Someone last week put walls up in Carrie's old apartment. Who tried to tear walls down?
Aiden.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Who was a real little bitch in this season.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just had one little question from Rita. I just found The Guilty Feminist and I'm thoroughly enjoying you savaging and just like that. Happy to hear you learned what a comptroller is, words that don't cross the Atlantic. For similar American reasons, can you please explain the word exchequer? This is from Mark Hoff, Durwood, Maryland, USA. Now, you are an American who lives in Britain. Mm-hmm. Can you, Abigoliah, explain exchequer to Mark?
Except for they do the budget so I don't know what exchequer
Who's your
means.
exchequer in America? Is it treasurer, right?
Yeah, it would be the
we say
the secretary of the treasurer secretary. Yeah, so it's the person who does the budget for the country's finances. Right.
And here it's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. So the Exchequer is the Treasury, and the Chancellor of the Exchequer is the Treasurer.
Okay.
And that isn't just like that. We do have one more episode with Katie Mulgrew. She is an aficionado, and we're going to look over the whole series together, and that will come out next week. Abigoliah, do you have anything to plug?
So I have a podcast that I co-host with my friend Joe Wells called Neurodivergent Moments, where we talk to other neurodivergent creative people about being neurodivergent and creative. And also in September, my comedy special, Legally Cheeky, will be out on YouTube. So if you go to Abigoliah Schamaun, just look up how to spell it, on YouTube, follow me. I'll be dropping it in September, Legally Cheeky, my comedy special.
Or we could follow you and you could tell us where.
Oh, yes. You could follow me on all forms of social media at Abigoliah, mostly Instagram, TikTok. Like I said, YouTube, if you follow me there, is where I'll drop the special.
It's Abigoliah.
Yeah, Abigoliah.
I recommend it. I recommend the Neurodivergent podcast as well, which I have been a guest on.
Yes, you have.
And give Abigoliah a follow. She is always a light. Her shows are always hilarious. You must go and see her. Thank you so much for discussing the final episode. I have heard talk that SJP is approaching Netflix because she doesn't like the way it was left and she wants to wrestle back creative control, but that could be an internet rumor. Who fucking knows?
I don't know, but the fact that we started this episode, Deborah, with me going, I think they're onto something finally. And you were like, this is the last episode ever. I hate this show.
I know. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much, Abigoliah Schamaun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and just like that with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Abigoliah Schamaun. The producer for The Spontaneity Shop was Tom Selinsky. The Guilty Feminist is part of the Acast Creator Network, and just like that is on Max in the United States and Sky Comedy and now in the UK. See you next week for our final wrap-up, and always remember, we're still watching, so we're part of the problem.